Welcome, everyone. Welcome to more learning sessions, and thank you for taking the time in joining us today in our training titled Negotiate with Confidence, How to Negotiate Anything in Career, Life, and Business. So, my name is JC Ventura, and I'm the head of HR of More Staffing, and I will be your host for today. Okay, so it is a pleasure for me to introduce our speaker. She is a serial entrepreneur who has started different businesses in various industries. She will teach us how we can level up our game in successful negotiation and will help us gain practical tools, tactics, and insights from real life experiences, which we can apply as we make negotiations in our day to day life. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our speaker, Jackie Liban.
Hi, JC. Thank you for that. Thanks for the
Hello.
introduction.
Thank you for taking the time and for giving your time with more now to help our aspiring or existing freelancers for the negotiations.
Well, it's really my honor and pleasure to be here this afternoon. I really appreciate that I got invited by the More team to talk with you today. So I hope that I make good use of your time this afternoon. It's a 2-hour session. It might seem long, but if when I was preparing the presentation, it seemed quite what do you call this? Not enough for the discussion. So I'll try to make the most out of this afternoon to make it all worth your while.
Thank you again. So yes, you may proceed, Jackie.
All right. So, before anything else, I would just like to ask the audience members, how is your Friday so far? How are you feeling? You can enter through the chat box. How are you feeling? So, do you feel defeated? That's sad naman, no? Did you have a lot of struggles at work or at home? Do you feel accomplished? Do you have a lot of wins to celebrate this week? It's a Friday, right? So, do you feel tired? Were there just too many meetings that could have been an email? Or are you hopeful for the weekend? Excited. Ay, dami namang dami excited. JC feels overwhelmed. I hope we can make you a little calmer and relaxed this afternoon. Excited, amazing, wonderful. I love the energy. Let's keep the energy up because we're gonna need that to absorb all of the information that we're going to learn this afternoon. So it's a Friday night. At the end of this session, you will have the weekend to yourself. You can jumpstart the weekend. However, you and your partner have different plans on celebrating the week or the evening rather. So can we have a poll? Who among you wants to stay at home? Team stay at home. Just order Grab, watch Netflix perhaps, or it's a long weekend. You've already had a lot of meetings. You talk to a lot of people. You need to decompress and unwind outside. You want to go out for drinks with friends, maybe, or walk around the mall, go shopping. You've earned it anyway, right? Oh, nananalo ang team stay at home. Okay, we're still voting. Right, so I think if you ask me like 2 years ago, before the pandemic, I would say definitely team go out. But since I've become used to staying at home, team stay at home na rin ako. But we'll see, all right? Let's keep that poll here for now and let's see your answers for later. So, how since your partner and you have different ideas for the weekend, for me, I said I'd rather go out, right? But obviously my husband, he's a stay-at-home kind of guy, so he would choose team stay at home. So how do you settle the difference? If you and your partner have opposing views on this matter, how do you settle the difference? Are you team concede or team competes? I won't ask you to answer that through a poll because mahirap na. So I'll just ask you to keep your answers to yourself for now. Don't say it out loud. We'll discuss more of that later because I'm here to tell you that there is a third option, which is to negotiate. Hi, everyone. My name is Jackie again. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have been full-time entrepreneur since 2013, and for the past almost 10 years, I was able to put up numerous businesses that range from food, retail, events, production, handmade products, social enterprise, print, and manufacturing. All of which I was able to put up with minimal capital investment because I practice negotiation. So by the end of this workshop, I want you to be able to acquire the tools and tactics that work for me and for others as well to effectively negotiate as we talk about practical real life examples. I'll try to riddle the whole workshop with stories, anecdotes that you might find helpful. So, for who is this workshop made for? It's for everyone. This workshop is designed for practical real life application. Whether you're applying for a new job, asking your boss for a raise, buying a new car, a house, or maybe even dealing with things at home. This workshop aims to help you improve your abilities to negotiate. Hopefully, you'll be able to apply the skills that you will learn this afternoon, whether you find yourself making the deal of your career with a high-powered CEO or when talking to your 5-year-old who's asking for extra snacks right before dinner time. And trust me, I'd rather choose the CEO. While I would love to make this lecture as interactive as possible, please bear with me in our limitations with running the workshop online. Although I do hope that you could turn on your cameras. I see some of you already. So it's just like so that we're having a better conversation, right? So rest assured that we'll make the most out of this afternoon with enriching negotiation tips and tactics. Don't worry about taking down notes, as we will be providing PDF worksheets by the end of the course for those who attended. So join me as we discuss today what is negotiation, why we don't negotiate, how to effectively negotiate, and then some questions and answers reserved for the end of the evening. So what is negotiation? Negotiation is a process by which two or more people resolve an issue or arrive at a better outcome through compromise. Negotiation is a way to avoid arguing and come to an agreement with which both parties feel satisfied. So, what are the keywords that we need to stress here or to remember? One is to have a better outcome, to compromise, avoid arguing, come to an agreement, no? And also to feel satisfied as an end result. So negotiation is the art of discussion. It's a research and evidence-based where you should be able to justify your prices, right? Or your asking offer. And the goal is to have an agreement. You are not at war with the other party, and it's also not seduction. So it sounds nice, right? But do we actually really negotiate every chance that we get? Do we feel confident asking our boss for a raise? Please give me a show of hands, kahit sa emoji here, if you find that you don't always negotiate. Do you find it hard negotiating? Just raise a hand. All right, we have one. Okay, so a lot of us, or there are more people here showing their hands, saying that they don't always feel good negotiating. Maybe one or two members of the audience can type in or unmute yourself na lang and share with us why you don't negotiate. You can chat or unmute yourself. Maybe is it because when you buy something, you just accept the price, or maybe you would want a raise, but your boss feels a little too intimidating. Yeah, too shy, right? Sometimes it can be quite embarrassing, no? So what else? What other reasons might we have? Anyone else? Well, I can help you with that. Oh, there, lack of confidence. Thank you, Bea. Well, those two are actually included here in our presentation now. We feel embarrassed, you fear losing the deal, and you want to be like, they're afraid of rejection, afraid of rejection, afraid of arguing. Some conflicts are not invited, right? So who wants conflict? Who wants to be rejected? Who wants to have an argument? No one, not even me. But we're going to deal with all of those tonight. So, why don't we negotiate? For many reasons, such as we avoid it, we feel embarrassed, and I want you to overcome those feelings, right? Like overcoming embarrassment and pride. So think of it as a game. Sorry, I'll just put the slide back. One step ahead. So when you feel embarrassed, you think of it as a game rather than a competition, or a chance to get rejected or an argument. Just think of it as a game. It's just for fun, right? And then sometimes you might also think, is it really worth my time? Is it worth doing it? Anyone who feels that way? Because when you ask yourself, is it worth doing it? Well, my quick answer for you is yes, because you have gained the experience or the practice to negotiate. Because next time, you won't know if you are negotiating for something in the Changge, or next time it's already your new car, right? So you don't know if the next negotiation is a bigger one, or a negotiation of your career or salary increase, right? So when you think, they're probably laughing at you. Somebody said here, too shy to say. So you might think, no, they might laugh at me. So later on, when you get the deal, you'll realize when it just looks fine, right? It's not as outrageous as you think. And then wanting to be liked is one problem that seems to arise also. And I'll go a little philosophical here and say, who cares if they like you or not, right? So whether you buy or don't buy, whether you negotiate or, whether you ask or not ask, it doesn't affect whether they like you. So by the end, but the end result will directly impact your wallet, maybe your savings, maybe your earning potential, right? So are you still with me? Okay. So the first thing that you want to do when negotiating is to decide. Decide to do it. Decide to negotiate. Lots of opportunities can feel like negotiation, no? Not only when dealing with money. Time is a commodity. So when you exchange each other's time, you are already negotiating. Or anytime you hear the words I need or I want, there is your room for negotiation. So when you find yourself in the negotiation arena, you try to be brave, be confident. When you decide, stick to it. Then don't worry about being liked. Instead, think about how this benefits you. And later on, when you get the deal, you'll realize it's not as bad as I thought, right? It's not as bad as you think. So it's not as outrageous as I initially thought. So let me show you this quote. Let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate, by John F. Kennedy. So that is why this learning session is applicable. Negotiate with confidence. All right. So now that you have decided, I'm going to negotiate. If you could think of a scenario in your head right now, bring it along with you throughout the afternoon so that you can, role play in your head the things that you might want to say in the negotiation. So the second part is planning. This second part is probably one of the most crucial parts, where you will need to set your walk-away point, set your limit. No matter what, do not negotiate with yourself once you have established a walk-away point. Never break it. You have to be consistent with yourself once you have set your limit and never go beyond that. So it is determined by internal and external factors. Internal being your feelings. It is internally generated. So you can ask yourself, at what price will I be happy to accept the offer? Right? So you identify and decide this before you even ask the seller for the price. So you should already think about this before you enter the negotiation. It's also externally affected, which is based on market knowledge and research. You must do your research before you negotiate. However, you should note that the market affects the offer, not the walkaway point. Again, so your walkaway point will be your limit. It is your anchor. Sorry, not anchor. It is what will guide you during the negotiation. It is internally generated, meaning what will make you happy. All right, but it is also controlled by your market knowledge and your research. However, do not let the market affect the offer. Okay, sorry, the market affects the offer, not your walkaway point. Do not let the market affect your walkaway point. Sorry for that. Okay, so Remember to always set your limit even before you know how much it is. Your walkaway point will give you the conviction to keep doing it. You can ask yourself, what is this truly worth to me? What's the least I am willing to take? Now, when buying, what is the most I'll pay for this? Or when selling, how much is low enough that you're still happy with your margins? Now I have a question. Do you accept the offer if it matches your walkaway point? Since we're on the subject of walkaway point, do you accept it? Like, let's say, so before you enter a walkaway a scenario, right? I already thought I need this for 10,000, but when you ask, they do give it for 10,000. What do you do? Do you accept it immediately? Quick answer. Negotiate. Even if it happily lands on your walkaway point, maybe get an extra freebie, extra delivery, free delivery, something like that. Negotiate. But what if it is beyond your walkaway point? Not everything happens to fall easily, right? So what if it is beyond the walkaway point that you have set? Then be prepared to crumble, which reminds me of a story. So when I was young, or maybe 15 years ago, my dad showed us this house in a village, and it was big, it was spacious, it had ensuite bathrooms, meaning every bedroom has its own bathroom. It's really nice. It was very homey. However, he did not end up buying that house. Instead, he bought the house at the next corner. Funny, it actually looks exactly the same, but it's smaller. So since it's smaller, it's not as spacious, and it didn't have as many bathrooms. However, we're actually quite happy with that decision because he didn't afford the first one, so he bought the second one, and we're lucky because 15 years later now, that house, the first house, still wasn't sold. So it's still there, still for sale because it had problems. The flooring is too low from the road. So whenever it's raining, it would flood easily inside the house. Right. So it would flood easily inside the house, even if it's not flooded on the roads. So imagine if we live there, if we ended up purchasing that, right? So yun. So the point of that story is set your walkaway point. So since my dad at that time did not have enough money to buy the house with the ensuite bathrooms, he went instead with another one. So it was a better deal actually. So keep within your walkaway point. Next. Another thing that you need to prepare are your tradables. So you want to list your tradables, then use them again and again for repeating negotiations. What are repeating negotiations? This is particularly relevant for those in supply chain, in purchasing, procurement. So you'll have some things that you need to buy again and again, every quarter, every month, right? So list your tradables. That will be useful whenever you find yourself negotiating. So how do you do this? No, tradables kasi they are your wish lists, they are your concessions. So you think to yourself, what extras can I ask for? What extras can I offer? What extras are they likely to be looking for? And what extras might they be able to give easily or cheaply? Did you get that? So some top of mind examples would be free delivery, like I mentioned earlier. Free room upgrades for hotels and maybe airlines, no? From economy to coach, or maybe extra pillows when you're selling mattresses. I just experienced this last week. So we were buying mattresses for a new vacation house, and initially, I asked the seller or the salesman, "We need 5 mattresses. How much can you give it to us?" He didn't budge because that week they already reduced their prices from 50% off to 60% off. So it was already really a good deal to begin with. But instead, he offered 2 free pillows. Does it sound nice? Because later on, we realized, oh, we also need a new bed in our own house, right? So we were able to stretch the negotiation from 5 to 8 mattresses. And you know what he did? Because he couldn't budge, he kept calling their office, their superiors, and he couldn't give us any more further discount because they already went from 50 to 60%. He just gave us 4 pillows per bed. So we ended up getting 8 mattresses and 32 pillows. Okay. So that is the tradable that the company or the beds company was able to give easily. That is invaluable to us, but it's easy for them to give out. Great deal. Yes. Thank you, Julius. That's true, right? So pillows can be quite pricey naman, and it was quality pillows anyway. So more examples of tradables. If you are an employer, you might be able to attract employees with a laptop rather than a desktop, right? So this is particularly true for the work from home setup that we're trying to do now, right? So it's the same cost, desktop, laptop, sometimes it's the same, but it's a bigger value for the employee, okay? If you're a store, throw in extras that don't cost much. Like a national bookstore, they have free engraving or free personalization for pens, right? So that didn't cost extra, but it is something special to the buyer. So that's what's going to make you buy from National instead of other stores for the same brand of pens. If you have questions, please, you can enter into the chat box or any reactions you might have. Okay, another thing that you need to plan is to identify the other party's weaknesses. Weaknesses? Yeah, because they will always have one. You need to watch out for that. So ask yourself, what weaknesses might they have that will cause them to give more away to you? What fears might they have? Sometimes on the surface, it's very hard to figure this out. So it's especially if it's the first time you're talking to a person and then they seem rigid and stern, right? So how will you know their weakness? By asking a lot of questions. So some weaknesses that they may have are time constraints, budget constraints, inventory levels may be too high and not moving. So the item that you want may be a non-moving good, right? New product release. So next week they'll have a new release of a product. So you need to move stocks now. But you are happy to get this older model. So that's one weakness that they may have, right? And maybe pressure from their bosses. Who knows? So there are a lot of things that they may have weaknesses on. So an example is, oh, here's a tip. If you're buying a new car, a brand new car, for instance, you talk to the agent by the end of the month, because during the end of the month, they're more eager, they're more competitive because they have quotas to fulfill. So their dealerships are very, what do you call this, competitive when it comes to units sold. So I noticed that when buying a car, they're eager to get you to buy or give you more freebies, for instance, for them to achieve their quotas. So there. So so your life can be in a completely different place just by improving how you negotiate. So see, I hope by now, by this slide, you're able to see that negotiation is not just about conflict or confrontation. It's really an exchange. It's an art of discussion. So after you have decided, planned your walkaway point, listed down your tradables, you're now ready to make your opening offer. However, you make the first offer. How should you offer, right? You make the first move, kumbaga. So a seasoned negotiator, they can set their price and their terms first because they have more experience, they have done their research, and they're really in the game very strongly already. But don't be disheartened that you lack experience. So, for instance, you're asking for a raise rather than saying, hi, I would like a 10% pay raise. You can ask, I would like a raise. I have been excellent at my job. I have given the company X amount of revenue in the past quarter or past year rather. What might you be able to offer? So what's the difference in those two scenarios? In the first, you explicitly said that you want 10%. In the second, you asked them what might you be able to offer, giving them the ball to offer first. So why might you want to do the latter? Assuming you have met and exceeded expectations of you, of course, they might be able to give you more than what you are expecting, right? So you're thinking of 10%, but they actually have budget for 15 and you wouldn't know this at the beginning. So you ask them, what might you be able to offer? And the results could surprise you, or it could be pathetically low increase, no? You're asking for 10, you were hoping for 10, but they give you 5. Okay, so it's very sad. You just, they could point back to you and ask, well, how much are you expecting? If they do this, you just be creative and ask or say something that could make them say the number first. But before you do that, do have a number in mind and remember your walkaway point and be prepared to justify your number again through the external factors, through research. So also, if you're looking for 100K, then don't ask for 100K. Make it a little bit more. Opening prices may be your anchor, whereby it dictates the tone of the range. But again, everything is under negotiation. Are you with me so far? Because I cannot see your faces. I can only see a few. So I don't know if you're receiving this all. But if you have questions, thank you, Julius, for acknowledging. more comments, please, on the chat box, if you will. Okay, so how to set your opening offer. When buying, open for less than what you might get. When selling, open for more than what you might get. Open for more than the most that you might get, and then justify your offer. So you can see materials is expensive. I do this and that. This is all I can afford. So just be prepared to have a range, and then find the possible zone of possible agreement. Okay. So when doing an offer, you might also want to ask a lot of questions. Ask a lot of questions and listen. So give them as little information as you can without giving away your power. Take it easy and get them to crack first. Remember, weakness, right? Identify their weaknesses. So keep asking questions, and you might get down to what is their pain point, what is their weakness, what they can give away for you for free, those kinds of stuff. So get as much information as you can. Ask open-ended questions, right? So let them give away their power. Don't give away your power. So do they have a time limit? Have they looked at anybody else? Do they have other candidates aside from you? What options do they have? So for instance, at Lettercraft, my printing press, it's a printing services company, and we offer most products of printed paper products. So when someone asks me for a company letterhead, I don't really have much room to negotiate for the price. So if it's a standard product, I give a standard price as well. Because there's what do you call this? How I can hardly distinguish or differentiate the product from the market. It's a standard product, so there's not much differentiation among suppliers, and it will just boil down to price, service, and relationship. However, if it's like coffee table book, a highly personalized, specialized project, I can develop the product with the client first. Iron out all the details, give them options for every part of the book's construction, like the cover, inside pages, leaf, what do you call this? Fly leaf. So all of those I will settle or I will discuss with them before I give the price. So during the development phase, even if we're not directly talking about price, we're already negotiating as I get more information from them. I can ask a lot of questions aside from building a positive relationship, right? So ask a lot of questions so that when I submit my proposal, it's basically hard for them to say no to the offer. Did we get that? Nice, thank you. And then one thing more that you want to do when the other party has given you their opening offer, you want to do a flinch, right? Oh no, oh, shocks ang mahal. So be creative. Just respond. Don't accept the offer flatly. Na okay, that's your offer. Be animated if you can even. So whatever feels natural for you, but basically just do a flinch. Hopefully, not an angry one. Don't be angry at the other person. You always want to maintain a good relationship. Be nice. So it's important to do the flinch because if you don't, it will give the impression that the price they forwarded is acceptable and will give you less power, right? So you might think that all of these is like ambitious. Does anyone feel that way? No. It can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're not used to negotiating. But again, it just takes practice. And although it will feel uncomfortable at first, remember, later on, when you get the deal that you want, when you get that pay raise that you want, it will look fine. It will be okay. Looking back on it, it's, if you can just think of it as a game, have fun with it, and move in small steps. Okay. He who has learned to disagree without being disagreeable has discovered the most valuable secret of negotiation. So the next step is trading. A trade-off denotes the option we give up to obtain what we want. So in negotiation, our negotiation happens when both open and you have to get to an agreement. We keep emphasizing the word agreement. So remember to trade low cost for high value. Prepare a long list of tradables. Remember, that's part of your planning process. Tradables, concessions, wish lists, things that are easy for you to give but are worth something or even worth a lot to the other side, right? At the same time, what are your wish lists that the other party might be able to give to you? Example, I once had a company that organized paid workshops. So let's say you're in my shoes. You're putting up a new company. So one of the things that you would need would be branding and logo. We were able to get a popular or a known speaker for the events, and the topic was really hot at that moment. Then you were able to find someone to do the logo. When she learned of the topic that you're going to do for the workshop, she said, "Oh, I'm interested. I love that topic. What would you do if you were in my place?" You found someone to do the logo. The artist expressed interest that she wants to attend the workshop. What would you do? Anyone? You can unmute. X deal. Correct. Thank you. Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner. So you can do an X deal. You can maybe ask the person, okay, I can give you extra seats in my workshop if you can do the logo. Maybe for free, or if the rate of is not commensurate to the workshop, then you can do okay, you can offset, you can do a discount, stuff like that. So only ever trade conditionally, right? So don't give away your power. So don't just give away the seat right away for the logo when you could have asked for the logo in exchange of the seat for the workshop. So that's why we recommend, or I recommend, to ask a lot of questions, because it is when you're talking to the other party, this is when you get all of these information from them. You don't just say, "Hi, how much is a logo?" You want to build a relationship. Okay. And actually, if I may just share, one of the questions that I often ask or track when I buy something online, like in Facebook Marketplace or in Carousel, is the location. Okay, so when I find that the seller is nearby, I know I can pick up the items right away in my car if it's big, or book for a small grab fee. No? But I won't give away that kind of information. I won't say that I live nearby or that I can pick it up right away. I withhold it until I find the right time to use it. So, for example, I want something online. I found something in Carousel, and I want the price to come down from 1,000 a piece to 750. I can say something like, "Hey, if you give this to me at 750, I can pay now and pick up in the next hour." Which brings me to my next point on how to effectively trade, which is to try the sentence, "If you, then I." So if you remember how I said it, so if you give this to me at 750, then I can pay now and pick up in the next hour. It sounds, it's like the best sounding, or it's the strongest sounding combination of words to string together. If you're a seller, you can say, "If you could pay us in advance, then we can give you a cheaper price," right? So it's a stronger position rather than the other way around or any other combination. So I told you not to take down notes, but if you will take down notes for this session, right? If you, then I, right? If you then I all right? Next part is to move in small steps. Not necessarily the next part, but I put it up here for emphasis because it's more of a reminder than a step, but still needs reminding. ba yun? Okay, so just move in small steps. Be patient, discuss small things first. Now, when you're patient, you want to get to know more about the person, the product, the deal, uncover their weaknesses, right? Ask a lot of questions. So when you're asking a lot of questions, that's you being patient with the deal. You don't jab right away with the price. Ask right away for the price. Be patient. Kulang. Take your time. Ask questions. Where are they from? What school did they study in? If that's relevant, stuff like that. Then you want to discuss small things first. See, with each passing moment of the negotiation, the investment grows. Again, let me remind you, time is a commodity. So their investment with you is growing by the second that passes, right? So you're also more prone to reach a deadlock if big things are discussed first. So also, when big things are discussed first, there's no relationship that is established. So discuss the small things first. Then come down in smaller amounts. It will seem like you have a big headroom if you give away too much too quickly. So if let's go back to the 1,000 peso example earlier. If I were the seller and I gave away 750 immediately, that means I have a huge margin. I'm keeping a huge margins, right? So when I was starting out in the printing business in Lettercraft, since I'm the one who did the costing and I also who talks to the customer, I know how much the cost is. I know how much it costs to produce the product, so versus the price. So when the customer flinches, like so they also know the flinch, I'm tempted to give away a discount right away. So if I say a calling card is worth 650, and they say, "Oh, in a heartbeat, I would almost have said, let's give 500 na lang." I was so tempted to give away a discount, even when they're not asking for it. So I was just so eager to impress, get the deal, book the client. But ever since, that was me when I was starting out in this business. But ever since, I've learned that you only give away when they ask. Okay? And also, that could come down to centavos, not 650 to 500. So I have this regular customer who always asks for a huge discount. Over time, I've learned how to manage the relationship and at the same time use centavos or not whole numbers, not round numbers when dealing with this customer. So instead, like how he does, right? So if the price is 13, normally he would say, Miss Jackie, 10 na lang. But this time, since I know he does this, I would say, okay, I would do it for 12.57, 12 pesos 57 centavos. So ever since I did that, the centavo increments, he started asking for less discounts and respected my prices more. So come down in smaller amounts. It doesn't have to be a big jump, doesn't have to be a whole number, doesn't have to be a round number. And then finally, please remember to use your tradables. Your concessions, your wish list, tradables, keep a long list of them. Negotiating should be nice. However difficult or awful the person is, be nice. Persist, justify your price. You can also sell yourself that I can do a really good job. And then trade at every point. Remember, every small step. Finally, how do you close an offer? Do you have questions, by the way, before I proceed? Any comments from the audience? Okay, I'll just move along. So when doing a closing or when doing a negotiation, instead of saying to you how to close, I'll tell you how you shouldn't. All right, here are the don'ts. Don't say, and that's my final offer. Or is that your final offer? Don't ask, is that your final offer? Because when you say, and that's my final offer, if it's not true, then every time you say it, the other person will find it hard to believe you, right? So I'm selling the calling card boxes for 650, and that's my final offer. If it's not true, because I know I can get to 500, every time you say it, the other person will find it hard to believe you. Because if I budge down to 600 or lower, they just keep pressing me on next time until I say the words, and that's my final offer, right? So next time they will keep pushing you, they will keep asking until you say, and that's my final offer. And then conversely, the other side is true. So avoid asking, is that your final offer? All right? Because how else will you answer that question? Is that your final offer? Yes, of course. I mean, it doesn't leave the other side to saying, no, it's not my final offer, or no, that's not my best offer, right? So they have to say yes to that question. There's no other way to answer it. And so they would have to be firm and you won't get any more off. Another don't is to split the difference. If ever this happens, where you find yourself in a situation where the seller or you're the buyer and then the seller says you just split the difference, if ever that happens, you're almost at a deadlock. So it means you or they have already given up. So what's the technique for this? What can you do? Push back. You see, if again, let's go back to the printing press situation. So I can say I won't make money out of this contract anymore if you're selling, right? Or I can also say my boss won't let me. Or in my case, my husband, he in order for me to get out of a predicament, sometimes he tells me, gamitin mo ko. So he says, use me. Say, my husband won't allow this, or my husband won't let me buy at this price, right? So push back if you find yourself in a split the difference situation. Or what if they say no? What if they're really persistent with a split the difference situation? What do? You split the difference of the difference. Did you get that? Split the difference of the difference. So if their price is 95, and sorry, if their price is 100, and then your asking price is 95, you don't want, and then they're asking you to go for 97, you go to 98. That's a very small margin that I give, but I hope you get what I'm trying to say here. Split the difference of the difference. All right. There's a whole book actually written about splitting the difference. It's a very interesting, it's a small, it's a thin book, it's a quick read. So if you find this workshop has triggered your negotiation light bulb, please feel free to check out Chris Voss' negotiating book. It's called Never Split the Difference. Okay. Finally, don't do the nibble. So what is a nibble? Anyone can guess what a nibble is, since we have some time. So a nibble is an extra that you are not expecting. The seller has not told you about after you have signed the papers, after you have shook hands on the price. Okay. So for instance, furnished houses or furnished condos, they come with furniture, appliances. Basically, you just bring your clothes and live in the condo, right? So after agreeing on the price for rent, your landlord says, we're gonna take this painting away. There's a painting in the living room, and we're gonna take this painting away because it has some sentimental value to my daughter. So in a way, maybe it's not your style, or something, and maybe you don't like it. So we're gonna take this home. How do you reply to that? Anyone would like to volunteer? Any brave soul this afternoon? If your landlord and you have already agreed on the price, on the rent, and then they decided to take away the painting, how would you reply? Is it all right? No one? Well, discount, yes. You can actually say that it is something that you like about the condo. No, that's actually what caught my attention. That's actually what I really like about this place. That's why I signed up with you. It's that painting. You can push back, right? So if you could take off 10% from the rent, I would be happy to sign the papers with you. If you could take off X amount for that item, that would be all right. Okay? So a nibble is a dishonest and sinister move, and you don't want to do it. Okay? But if and you also need to look out for it and try to avoid it. So how to avoid it? You can ask, are there any extras that I need to know of? Is there anything else that I need to know? Would you like to tell me more? So again, you go back to asking a lot of questions. So that's how you uncover this sinister move of the nibble. So don't make the mistake of leaving loose ends. So if ever you find yourself in this situation, your fallback would be go for a counter nibble, right? So ask again from the rent example, a discount. If you could take away X amount, then okay, we can proceed with the deal. So again, the unable is dishonest, and you shouldn't let them get away. Sorry. You shouldn't let them get away for it, right? So don't let that slide. Finally, you thank each other for the time, no matter the outcome. You thank each other for regardless if it was a good deal, it was a missed deal that they call. You know, you want to thank each other for the time that you spent. Okay. Quick wrap up here. Let's get a little more interactive. I'm not sure if you guys are still with me because your screens are turned off, but let's do this quick wrap up. What if you get stuck? Be prepared to walk away or crumble depending on your limits, right? So I have two scenarios here. On the left, you'll see their price is 100, your walkaway point is 90, and they won't come down at all. Matigas sila. They're very firm on their price of 100. What do you do? Can I put someone on the spot to answer? Anyone who's prepared? Someone whose video is turned on? So I see two people whose video is turned on. JC or James, what would you do? We're still an example.
You know what? Actually, I'm glad I attended this learning session because I'm really bad at haggling. Like really bad. Purchasing when I'm purchasing or when someone haggles my price, both ends, I'm really bad with that. So,
okay,
at
I hope
saka,
you're able to do something.
yes, you know what? Eto, hindi to, with your question, but it really struck me when you said, regardless of how the transaction went, if it pushed through or it didn't happen, you thank each other for the time. Kasi it lacks that. I mean, I've experienced that. I had a lot of, I invested a lot of time with the client, tapos at the end of the day, walang nangyari. So that's a good point. Anyway, so their price 100, your walkaway point is 90. What do I do? They won't.
Yeah. Remember that
Okay.
your walkaway point is 90 and they're very firm on their price. What do you do? Of all the things that we discussed today, is there something that you remember?
Yes. Ita-try ko yung sinabi ng husband mo.
Well, that's good. That's good. You can crumble, right? Blame it on
Yes.
someone. You can crumble.
Blame
It's
it
okay
on-
to crumble.
Yes. Pero, like, before this talk, I think sasabihin ko, okay.
You'll accept it. Here's
I'll
another
accept
thing
it.
that you can do. You can use your tradables, your wish list, your concessions. You can do trading. So, yes, the option really here is to crumble. But before you do that, ask your tradables first, then walk away, depending on your limit, right? So maybe you can trade something that maybe you have something that you can offer to them, or you can ask for a discount for this. I have a recent example for this. Yeah, I was buying vinyl yesterday, and then I got down to two labels or two albums that I really liked. Okay, but the price was a little over my limits. Then they're all the way in Valenzuela. I live in Quezon City. So the grab fee would amount to 200. The price she's asking for is 2,500. Sabi ko, 2,300 na lang para saradong 2,500 yung gagastusin ko. And you know what she did? No, 2,500. Pero I can give you one extra record. So is that a good deal? So the value of the extra record is 300 actually. So imagine that I was asking for a 200 peso discount, but she gave me a 300 peso value. Since I'm collecting, the peso discount, the 200 peso discount seems negligible compared to the extra piece of collection that I will have, right?
Mm-hmm.
There. So in fairness to the other party, she did negotiate with me and use tradable. So I like that. Okay, let's move on to example number 2. Anyone please prepare. I'll ask the audience. If their price is 100, your walkaway point is 90, and they have given you 85 right away. What will you do? the selling price is 100. In your head, I want 90. I'll get this for 90. But when you ask, they gave you 85. Anyone who wants to answer? Anyone? Brave soul. You can chat. Oh, there. Ask Miss Janelle. She's my friend. Hi, Janelle.
Sorry, I can't open my camera. Split the difference of the difference.
That's a good point. Split the difference of the difference. Or you can also, well, that's good actually that you still found, what do you call this? No, dear, sorry, their price is 100. Your walkaway point is 90. They've given you 85.
Ah,
So it's actually lower than what you're asking.
it really depends what it is and kung totoo yung walkaway point ng 90. But if I really don't want it kasi for this example, it looks a little close no?
Mm-hmm. Okay, we have another answer. Miss Sharmi Asi.
Hi, Miss Jackie. Sorry, I can't open my camera. So your walkaway is 90. However, they giving you the 85 rate. So that's a good deal. However, you have to make sure what's the catch of that 85. Maybe they're giving you an old stock. That's why they will give you 85. So verify with that as well. So if you have verified that it is still the same quality for a 100 peso, so accept the offer.
Yes, you can accept the offer or you can still negotiate further.
Yes.
Right? Okay, why am I saying to negotiate further? Jackie, ang ano naman what do you call this? Ang greedy naman. No, we're not trying to be greedy here. It's just that you got, your negotiation light bulb should be tingling here because from 100, they easily jump to 85. So you're thinking, I was happy with 90, but they gave me 85. Maybe, just maybe, I can squeeze a 75, right? Why am I thinking that way? It's because they gave so much ahead already. Remember our step number 5, I believe, move in small steps. If you can come down to centavos, if you can come down to 87, 92, not whole numbers, not round numbers. So that gives the audience or the other party the idea or the impression that your price is decisive, that you are sure with your price, that you have reason for your price. So because when you give too big of a headroom, it means that you have large margins, that you're withholding something, right? As Miss Sharmi said, it's quite dubious when they give away so big so instantly. Do you have further questions?
No, none.
Okay, so I prepared a few FAQs for the audience. So I hope I cover some of the questions that you might ask, but there will be a question and answer portion later. So number 1, or maybe since you have some time left, you can help me out in answering the questions. Okay, anyone could just jump in the conversation. So should I express my disagreement or judgment? Should I show na bad trip ako with the deal, etc.? Should I show disagreement? What do you think? Yes, Ms. Sharmi? Okay.
Yes, I think yes.
Well, you might, yes, right? Because thank you, JC, because you want to do the flinch. However, you also want to show empathy. So once you express signs of disagreement to the other party, you might push the other person to shut down or no longer participate in the negotiation. So again, be nice, ask a lot of questions, and you don't want the other person to shut down on you, to just totally block you off. No deal. Sometimes that happens in Tiangge, right? In the Tiangge, the bazaars, right? When you find, or thrift stores, when you find the seller to be very hard on their price. So you don't want them to shut down on you. You want them to get on your side. So be nice. Try to empathize with the seller or the other party rather. Okay, next question. Is it okay to lie? So basically the answer here is yes or no. Anyone? Would you like to type instead in the chat box? Is it okay to lie? Yes and no. Yes or no? Hindi ito na yung cat ko. Sorry, may dadaan, guys. Sorry. Yes or no? Is it okay to lie? Shall I answer? Anyone else who would like to participate? Okay, so the answer is no. You want to stay as truthful as possible because, number one, it's hard to stay consistent with the made up story, right? So you want the other person to trust you. If you go on with the story that's not true, you might stumble later on and then they will realize you're not telling the truth and that will be a misdeal because they don't trust you anymore. So you want to build a healthy relationship, especially if this is, recurring negotiation. If you're in supply chain, you want to maintain a healthy relationship for future transactions. Okay, so how do you deal with this kind of scenario where you're tempted to lie, you're tempted to make up a story? I'm open to anyone to answer. So if ever you're tempted to make up a story, I'd suggest instead to ask questions. Okay? So be the one asking questions. Don't give away information, right? So that just keeps the conversation going, the negotiation is still happening, but you're not making up stories. Next. Do all negotiations end up in a win-win situation? We've all heard of win-lose, lose-lose, win-win. Do all negotiations end up in a win-win situation? Hi, Mimi. Guys, this is Mimi. So if the other party feels defeated in a win-lose, excuse me, bye-bye, in a win-lose situation, or if one party feels defeated, that's a win-lose situation. Or if both parties end up more miserable, in a more miserable place than how they started, that's a lose-lose situation, then most likely you weren't able to communicate well. You weren't able to use your tradables, you weren't able to find the zone of possible agreement. So if we go back to the negotiation definition earlier, you must come to an agreement where you feel satisfied. Okay. Next, FAQ. What if the other side won't negotiate? I think this is a common scenario. What if the other side won't negotiate? Let's say you're buying something, and then the seller's very hard on their price, very stern on their price rather. So what if they don't want to negotiate? Miss Anadep Rosales, would you like to try? What if the other
Hi.
side won't negotiate? Hi.
Yeah. Yeah. If the other side won't negotiate, then well, after asking so many questions, now we have to probe all the time why they don't want to negotiate or lower down the costs or the price of their item. Then, of course, before negotiating with them, we've already formulated our, what do you call that? I always call it BATNA or my alter your I forgot your term. Your
Tradable?
no, not the tradable, the your bottom line or what your accepted price.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the walk away, yeah. Then if I won't get my walk away, then I'll also assess myself also what are assess myself based on the questions that I asked from the vendor. And if that item is really of value to me and I cannot see any alternative where I can buy somewhere else, then I will get it. But if there is an alternative where I can get the same item, then I might consider going first to the other vendors and check their prices as well.
That's good. That's good that you were prepared to crumble because that's part of negotiation. Parang accepting defeat now. But yes, do your market research, right? So before accepting the offer or even before entering a negotiation, You see,
Mhm.
I believe everything is negotiable, and this
Yeah.
is true unless you're SM, right? And that's literally, because most things would be negotiable except if you're SM, because when you go to the stands,
They can.
they right? You can negotiate. If you go on a shopping spree in restaurants, they can give you major discounts, exclusive offers, invitations to invite-only events, like or a members-only event. They can even close off the store for you. So there's so much negotiation you can do with restaurants versus with SM. I'll give you an example. Thank you, Miss Annadette. My mom, she collects perfumes, and we live in Quezon City. And the nearest mall when I was young to us was SM North EDSA, for those who live around the area. Um, However, we would still go to Rustan's Makati to buy her perfume. She would choose to buy in Rustan's despite the distance. And don't mistake my family for a wealthy family. We're not. My parents are just good at finding deals. Anyways, so she would spend her time talking to all the salespeople in Rustan's. She would throw jokes with them. They would happily participate, and then they would let her try every perfume on the table. Ako naman nakikiamoy, no? Then when she finally finds one that she likes, she would express her interest, but not in a way that it's a done deal na, okay, sold. She would always ask, anong freebies? Or what can I get for free? Can you do that in SM? I don't know. But in your stance, I know you can. So this would get a shock in SM before. I don't know now if you can do it, but before when I was young, this would get a shock in SM, but not in your stance. They're actually prepared to make a deal, right? So when you press them enough, or when you empathize with them, when you got them on your side, they will put out a sampler and give one to my mom. You know, the tiny bottles in the gatefold paper, cardboard na laminated, tapos may tiny bottle of perfume inside. She gets those for free. I get them. I mean, I get them from her, but she gets those for free. And do you think she settles with one? With just one? So she's so experienced in that field that she wouldn't settle for just one. She would end up with multiple freebies, even if she just bought one bottle of perfume. Okay? So in a nutshell, she was able to empathize with the joking around, kidding with the salespeople. She did her research and planned by not going to another mall and went to another. And then she asked for things that are stacking up behind the counter, because not everyone knows about that. I guess now you know. Not everyone knows about that. So there were a lot of tradables under the counter for her to receive. Okay? I hope you are liking the example so far, and I won't get sued by SM or Rustans for this. So number 5, how to say no without losing the deal. Nako, you're really pushed at the corner na. You've negotiated long and hard. You've been at it for months. Some negotiations last for months, mind you. So how do you answer? I'll help you guys with this one. So you can come back with, how am I supposed to do that? Okay. Again, if they push you, ask you for a price that's beyond your margins can allow, that is way under your manufacturing cost already, you answer, how am I supposed to do that? You give it back to them. You give the answer back. You give you pressure them back, see, and see how they react. You'll be surprised. So some reminders before we go, just to wrap it all up. Be nice, establish a healthy, positive relationship for now and the future, because negotiations are not a one-time deal. So seek negotiation opportunities. So whenever you talk to even your family members at home, all right, or even the seller outside, you try to negotiate. Okay, you'll never get it unless you try. Don't remember we started with you being afraid of trying to negotiate, the fear of being rejected, the fear of confrontation, like stuff like that, and feeling shy to ask. So you'll never get it unless you try. You have to practice your negotiation muscle. Then ask for more than what you want to receive. So if it's 100 that you want, ask for 120. You never know. You might actually get it, right? So the key here is to practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect. So if the first one doesn't work out, then maybe just you were just the first negotiation that you tried doesn't work out. Maybe you're just unlucky. Don't take it personally. Then try a second time, right? So for example, I'll give you examples of where to negotiate. For instance, in bazaars, so sa mga tiangge, or right now, since we're all online and at home, we buy things from people in marketplace or carousel. These are my favorite outlets or my favorite channels where to buy. How do you practice the flinch? Naku, ate, mahal, right? You can, be creative. Don't just say, okay, price is 500. Okay, don't just surprise. Oh, act shocked, act surprised, act sad even, flinch. The first thing you should do when you receive the offer is to flinch and then move in small steps. Okay. You can also try it on something that you don't especially want. You're not very, very interested in the item, but you do like it. Okay. So go ahead, make an offer. Then exit with, I'd like to think I'd like to think more about it. Or I'll ask my family, I ask my husband if it's okay with him. So at least what you got there is practice. But of course, if you do get it for the price that you asked for, be prepared to make the deal, to get the purchase. Okay, so ask for something that you don't really, really want. So it's not that valuable, but you like it. I hope I'm getting that point across. So at least next time, you know how long they're willing to go down for it. You've gained knowledge, you've gained market research, how much the pricing should really be. Otherwise, and then also be prepared to buy it. Okay, or if you don't, at least you gained experience over something that is low risk. So as compared to buying your dream house or a salary raise, right? So the essential part here is to keep practicing on opportunities that you might find, because you don't know if the next negotiation that you will enter into is life-changing, okay? Or you can also try it on something you can't afford, because by then, you know that, it's just really practice. And then don't forget to thank the other person for the time that they spent with you. Right? Okay. Can you do a short exercise? Are you still guys game to participate with you can unmute yourself, can chat in the chat box. So if you can, I'll read the comic strip for you. We'd like to extend an offer. The starting salary is $55,000. Wow, I guess I'm in a negotiation. Weird to phrase it like that, but I can do this. I won't accept a penny over $50,000. Sorry, I mean under $60. I mean 600,000. I want a 15% cut of the salary. Raise, double down, fold, pass, fill it up with the regular. Are you sorry? Let me start over. Okay, my chart says, can I borrow a calculator? What's 20% of $55,000? Listen, if you need to, no, I won't take this job for less than 61,333.3. Repeating. Sure, 61,333 is fine. That's actually 0.3 repeating, or I walk. Okay, excuse the voice. I do that every night with my daughter. I have a 5-year-old that I read books to, so this is very this is practice for me. So can we identify the things that went wrong in this situation? Can type in the chat box. What went wrong? What could have the candidate have said, or what could have the candidate done better? Maybe he or she could have, what's our step one? Step one is to decide. Decide that you will negotiate. I guess she or he decided to negotiate, but it was there already in the negotiation arena. So you want to do it way ahead. And then when you decide, you also plan. JC is right. She's uncertain of her own value. So when you plan, you want to set your walkaway point right away. When you ask for a salary from a new employer or prospective employer, you might want to be ready with a price in your head already. And then be prepared to justify that price. Remember that it's not going to be as outrageous as you think it will be later on if it is based on your internal and external factors, which are your feeling and your market research. Okay, and then I like that he or she was able to do the not whole number thing. She didn't do 60,000. She did 61,333.3 repeating. So at least she did something right. Okay, so we go back. How do you settle the difference? Earlier, I asked you, will you concede or will you compete? When faced with a situation where, what do you call this? Your partner wants to go out, you want to stay in, will you concede, or negotiate? Obviously, the answer now is to negotiate, right? After we've been talking here. So that's it for my presentation. I will share with you guys this file. Okay, we prepared this worksheets for you to think on. You can scribble down your notes here. When you find yourself in a negotiation, of course, don't bring this when you're in one, but be prepared ahead of time. You're asked here to decide to negotiate, be brave about your decision, and then plan. List down important notes that you might want to remember. Okay, always remember to be nice. Set your walkaway points before you start negotiating. You write it down below so you don't forget. And then make a long list of your tradables, wish lists, concessions. What might they be able to give you at a low cost that you need, and what might you be able to give them for zero to no cost, for zero to a low cost, that is valuable to them, right? So find the other party's weaknesses. We want to ask them ahead of time. What's important to them? Do they have quotas? Do they have time constraints, budget constraints? Then ask many, many, many questions. Don't be the one giving away information. Ask questions. Then some more reminders down here. All right. Do you have any other questions that you might want to ask? Now's the time to ask anything you might want. You can chat, enter it in the chat box, or just unmute. Huge already posted the link in our chat box. So if you guys want to check it out, it's at the Google Drive that you can download. Okay, you just download the PDF. It's a summary of what we discussed this afternoon. You can write down, scribble some notes in there. Then any questions you might have. I hope you find opportunities to practice negotiation. I hope you were able to gain some aha moments with what we discussed. Things that you might be able to use in your practice, at home, in your daily lives, or maybe when your next discussion with your bosses, you might want to ask for something that wasn't there before, or something that you've been long due to have. So keep practicing. Find small opportunities to negotiate so that next time when it's a big negotiation coming up, you're very much prepared. All right, that's it for me.
Ay, may question pala ako.
Ay, okay. Yay, gumagana na yung mic ni
Ay,
James.
magana pala yung mic. Okay na, may question na ako. Ito na yung question. Ito yung question. So, kanina may yung sa 100, yung 100 tapos yung iyong is 90. So, parang siya, binabaan niya ng 85. Parang gano'n, binabaan niya ng 85 yung So, ang sabi kasi nung isa, parang parang dubious, parang gano'n. Something na parang, ikaw, pero nasa sayo lang yung 90 eh. Nasa sayo lang yung 90. Paano kung binaba niya sa 80, yung nakipag-negotiate ka, pero hindi yung sinasabi yung 90 eh. Hindi mo sinasabi. Nakipag-negotiate ka, pero binaba niya sa 80, pero ayaw mo ng 80. Gusto mo ng 90. Paano yun? Paano yun?
You're giving away free money?
Paano yun? Paano yung na yun? Yung situation na gano'n. Yung kunyari pagka sobra namang baba naman dun sa parang, kasi ang inaan natin yung win-win situation eh. Yung parang, yung parang gusto mo fair din sa iba. Yung parang gano'n.
I see what you're
Kasi
trying to
sometimes
say.
ako sa pagka nakipag-negotiate ako sa market, sometimes sabihin ko na lang ang trade-in ko kasi minsan ano na lang -10 plus kiss na lang sa akin yung mga ganon. Yun. -10 plus kiss na lang. Yun lang kaya kong ibigay eh. So, minsan sobrang baba kasi nila nilalagay. Para kunyari magkaroon silang sale. Alam ko yung presyo eh. Alam ko yung presyo niyan eh. Yung parang ganon. Alam ko yung presyo nung tapos binabaan lang nila para syempre kasi alam nila alam nila pag-negotiate ka na mas mababa pa. So inuunahan ka na nila. So binabaan na nila para hindi ka na lumipat sa iba, pero alam mo na parang konti lang yung kanilang kikitain doon. Pero ikaw, to be fair, gusto mo konti lang rin para sa yung mabawasan. Paano mo
But
maano yun?
nice, no? Yeah, it's nice that you're a conscientious buyer. It's nice that you consider what the others are thinking. Pero you also have to be fair to yourself. You don't know how much really they bought it for. Di mo naman alam exactly how much yung puhunan nila. Kaya they were able to give it for a bigger discount. Kasi when they went down to 85 from 100 right away, parang ang laki ng margin niya. It sends the signal. Normally, it sends a signal na, malaki yung margin. So I'll try to squeeze in a little bit more. So that was the point that that example was trying to give. You try to squeeze in a little bit more. Kasi nga, malaki yung binaba niya agad. Pero, for your question na, what if you really want to give the 90? Then, give it like, so you pay 85, and then you say, ito 5 tip na lang sa'yo. I mean, you can be still generous, but still, what do you call this? Still end up in a win-win situation where both you and the seller are happy. Hope I answered your question. Anyone else? Do we have anyone in the chat box? Any more questions? I know it was a lot of things to absorb today, but they're all practical examples, all things that we can easily and quickly apply to our everyday conversations, everyday negotiation.
Okay, I think we don't have any more questions, but if you do, if something pops in your mind, please just write them down in the chat box. Okay, so thank you again, Jackie, for that very informative presentation. Also, I just want to say, as a supply chain associate that deals with procurement or purchasing products, sourcing new products from all around the world, this really comes in handy because I usually, when I have new vendors, I don't handle anything. And then when I propose them to the management, they would ask me if can we ask if is it possible to lower the price if we get this much X amount of quantities, blah blah blah. So I think this is a good start to level up my procurement or purchasing power for new vendors.
Okay.
So
But I want to emphasize lang, negotiation is not all about price. Volume discount, like you mentioned, is nice. But you can also use your tradables. Always remember tradables. Something that you can get out of free, where both of you and the other party will be happy in the end. There.
yes. And also that tradables, I can use it for my yearly performance report with my clients. Yung step by step. Ay, syempre hindi ko pwedeng gawin yung, oh, bakit? Hindi ka pa. Pero, yes, pero I think the tradables will be a very good standpoint when the time comes that I would ask for a raise with my client. So thank you so much. I hope everyone was able to connect to their own life on how they will be using this information, whether personal life, career, or anywhere in between. And thank you for staying with us until now, after an hour and a half. Okay, so you can check out our social media in the coming days and leave a comment so that we can send you a link to join the next session. What else? Okay. Jackie, on behalf of our company, More Staffing, we would like to express our gratitude in this learning session. It was very interesting and very informative. I believe in that everyone has received a lot of beneficial information from it. We'd also like to thank everyone who participated in our fifth learning session. Thank you for your unending support. Okay, so as a appreciation token, we offer this to you, Jackie, the certificate of today's learning session with you. We really appreciate your time and your effort in leading this learning session today. Also, for the participants, we want to show how grateful we are to everyone who took the time and attended our learning session since day one. So we will be giving out certificates of appreciation, and it will be sent to your email by next week together with the fillable worksheets. So only those who stayed until now will be getting the certificates. Okay, should we turn on our camera and have a photo op, online photo op? Ayan. Hello, everyone. It's nice to see faces. Hello. Is everyone from Manila? No. Can you type in your locations? Meron tayo Davao. Ano pa ba? Sino pa ba? Manila, La Union. Wow. Zambales, QC. So it's nice to have Nueva Ecija. Okay, so it's really nice to have everyone joining us from different parts here in the Philippines. And thank you again for joining. Ayan, thank you for the session. I learned a lot and it will surely come in handy in the future. From Nina.
I'll count for the photo.
Okay. Okay, one.
1, 2, 3, smile. All right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So we still have upcoming learning sessions in the following weeks. If you are interested, just we have an intermediate Excel training tips and tricks this coming July 8th. So if you guys are interested, please don't forget to follow our social media sites and invite people that you know who can benefit about this learning session with Excel. Okay, have a great afternoon or evening, everyone. Thank you again, Jackie.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.